Hello, in this video what we'll be discussing is nothing but the client request. So the client request will be coming from the form data. So we'll see what is the form data here. So typically we have come across with such this type of an URL like HTTP. You'll be typing like HTTP, some URL you'll be typing google.com. Later on you enter some parametric values, then you'll be noticing in URL you'll be finding like question mark, plus sign, ampersand sign, percent sign, like this you are getting here. So whatever which comes after the question mark, whatever the data which will be appearing after the question mark is known as the form data. Okay, so in this case what we'll be doing is nothing but this is an example here. So part after the question mark, that is user equal to Marty plus hall and origin bwi and test equal to nrt. This is known as the form data, or the it is also called as query data, and is most common way to get the information, and is a common way to get the information from the web page to a server side program. So form data can be attached to the end of the URL after the question mark. So form data is attached after the end of the question mark. For get request, it will be available on the URL, and for the post request, if it is a request is in the form of a post request, you'll find this in the server side here. Okay, so that is about the form data here. So reading the same data, so it can be read in the servlet as well as in the CGI forms. We'll see about what is the CGI form here. So in case of the CGI, so one of the main motivation for building the web pages dynamically is to base the result upon the query data. So this query data is submitted by the user. So the data which is submitted by the user, it will be in the form of a query. So it will be having three steps here. We'll see those, which are those steps. The first step is nothing but read the data on a one way for get request. So one of this is nothing but one way is nothing but the get request, and different way is for the post request here. So the second thing is nothing but you have to chop the pairs of ampersands. So chop the pairs of ampersand, then separate the parameter names from the parametric values. From the parametric, chop the parameters from the parametric values. And lastly, I think the third one is you have to you have to URL decode the values. So decode the URL values here. So these are the three things we'll be taking care in case of the CGI programs. So in case of the CGI, when you say about the CGI, so this is about the CGI programs which will be reading the data here. And similarly, we are reading the form data from the servlets. So how we read the form data from the servers? One of the nice feature of the servlet is that all the form passing is handled automatically. So whatever the form data is there, which will be handled automatically, and it calls the get parameter method of the HTTP servlet request. So the servlet knows which request method, whether it's a get or post or do, and get, post, delete, put, trace was used, and does not write thing behind the scenes here. So these are the things which will be taken care by the servlets. It calls the get parameter of the HTTP servlet request, and servlet exactly knows here which request method is coming from the browser here. So that is about how the form data will be read in the servlet. CGI is nothing but here it will be read in the form of three things. So that is first it will be reading in the form of a get request or the post request, or second thing is nothing but it chops the pairs of the ampersands, and then third thing is nothing but it will decode the values here. So one of them is nothing but alphanumeric characters will be set changed, and they will be they will be converted into an hexadecimal, like percent double x, where x is nothing but xs is the ASCII value of the hexadecimal. Okay, so moving on to further here, we'll take one simple example. So what we'll do is nothing but we'll create an HTML. So this HTML will be inputting three parametric values, where you have to enter the three values, like what is your first parametric value, second parametric value, third parametric value. This HTML page will be loaded on the browser. So as soon as you pass these values, param1, param2 and the param3, the param1, param2 and the param3 values. So these values you can see it on the servlet browser here. So the class which will be calling this parameter is called as 3params. So this 3params is available in the package called as more servlet, in the directory called as, or the project name is called as servlet. So this is the form action is taken place. Form action equal to servlet slash more servlets dot 3params is the class name, and here the method is not specified in the form action, so by default it will be a get method. Okay, so here an example, in this case the package name is more servlet, so class name is 3params, which is extending HTTP servlet. So when the class is extended by HTTP servlet, so you're overriding do get or the do post. So request is in the form of a do get because the method is not specified in the form action. So it takes two arguments, servlet request, HTTP servlet request, and HTTP servlet response, and throws the exception like servlet exception, IO exception. So you're sending the content of the page using text bar HTML. So you're writing the content to the browser using the print writer, and then so in whatever you want to print it, you are using like out.println. So you're creating a normal HTML file, that is you are building the HTML here inside the out.println. So body h1 l1, this is just an design for your values to be displayed. So as we already know is nothing but the servlet handles the form data by using a method called as get parameter. So get parameter is a method of HTTP request. So request dot get parameter param1. So param1, param2, whatever the parametric values are coming from the HTML, those are case sensitive, so it has to match exactly as that of HTML page. Very important things to remember. So request dot get parameter, you call the second parameter, and the third parameter request dot get parameter param3. Okay, so once you compile this program, so you'll get the first thing it will be requested. The first thing is coming here, you'll be getting this page here. So once you build it successfully, deploy it, and then you'll get the first page as first parameter enter the value, some value enter, second parameter enter the value, third parameter enter the value, and then we are having an input button, we are having a submit button. So when you click on the submit button, so all the data what you entered, it will be passed on to the servlet class. So the servlet, what you're doing in the servlet is nothing but you are displaying these values on the browser. So the output will appear like reading 3 parameter request. This is a message what you're passing in the out.println, and it catches these values param1, param2, and the param3. A simple example, very important, and very important to know how to execute this code. Okay, so moving on to further, here the next session in this case is nothing but we'll be discussing something called as the filtering query data. Okay,